Some vocabulary to review before we get started. Axis is an imaginary vertical line around which Earth rotates. If you look in the picture at the top, you can see the axis going through the North and South Pole. Rotation is the spinning of Earth around its axis, and this causes day and night for us on Earth. Revolution is Earth's yearly orbit around the sun. You can see this in the second picture. The Earth is moving around the sun. This is called a revolution. Earth's orbit or revolution is an ellipse, which is an elongated or curved oval. Looking at that second picture, you can also see the motion of the moon and how the moon rotates compared to how the Earth rotates. You can also see the orbit of the moon around the Earth and the orbit of the Earth around the sun. Motion of the moon. The moon rotates on its axis. Yes, the moon has an axis just like the Earth has an axis. The moon's rotation takes 27.3 days with the same side always facing Earth. So we always see the same side of the moon. This means the rotation of the moon and the length of its orbit are exactly the same, causing us to see the same side of the moon throughout the month. It takes roughly 1 month for the moon to complete its orbit around the Earth. The moon seems to shine because it reflects sunlight. This means the moon doesn't have its own light. It's simply reflecting the light from the sun. Moon phases are the shape of the illuminated or sunlit portion of the moon as seen by an observer, usually on Earth. So moon phases are simply the illuminated part of the moon that we see from Earth. The lunar, which means moon, phases change in a cycle as the moon orbits the Earth, according to the changing relative positions of the Earth, moon, and sun. All right, we're going to look at each specific moon phase now. Okay, when we're looking at these first 4 moon phases at the bottom, we have new moon, waxing crescent, our first quarter, and our waxing gibbous. All of these moon phases are increasing in light from one to the next. So waxing is used with each one of these words. So waxing means increasing in light. So this is when the moon phase starts brand new. We start with a new moon. This is when the moon is between the sun and the Earth. You can't see the illuminated half of the moon during a new moon. Waxing crescent is the next moon phase. This is the illuminated side of the moon begins to show on the right side of the moon. The moon is waxing, meaning the part you see is growing larger. You can tell that a moon is in its waxing phase if the light is on the right-hand side. First quarter is the next moon phase. The moon is in a quarter of the way around the Earth. This is sometimes called a half moon, when half of the moon is illuminated. Again, the right part of the moon is lit because this is still in the waxing phase. The next moon phase is waxing gibbous. The moon is 3/4 full or almost full, meaning over half of the right side of the moon is illuminated. So waxing still means increasing in light. Gibbous means 3/4 of the surface of the moon is showing. After we get through our waxing phases, we then begin to wane. Waning means to decrease in light. So when you see a moon waning, that means the left-hand side of the moon will be lit. Full moon is the moon is now halfway around the earth, and you can see all of the lighted side of the moon. So we see a full circle for the moon during a full moon stage, as you can see the picture below. Waxing gibbous is the next phase. This is when the moon is waning, meaning the part that you see is getting smaller. You can only see 3/4 of the moon's left side. If you look at the picture at the bottom, you can tell that the light is starting to decrease. The left-hand side is the part that is lit. Last quarter, or sometimes called third quarter, this is when the moon is 3/4 of the way around the earth, and you can see half of the left side of the moon. Waning crescent is the last moon phase. The illuminated left side of the moon is very small. This will soon become a new moon. Okay, now that you have the definitions for each moon phase, let's kind of look at this one more time so you can get a good idea of what's going on. When we have the moon phases, we have the sun, then the moon, and then the earth. And then we are right here on the earth. So basically, the moon is only changing shapes to us because of how we see the moon from earth. So starting with this first phase, this is our new moon phase. When we look out into the sky from earth, we see total blackness. We can't even see the moon. This is our new moon phase. And we see blackness simply because the sun's light is hitting the opposite side of the moon, which we can't see. As the moon moves counterclockwise around the earth in its orbit, we can start to see a little sliver of light. So from us on earth, this is the only part we can see, that little bitty part of light, and that would be our waxing crescent. So that's what the moon looks like to us from earth. As the moon continues to go around, we see a new part of the moon. So the moon is getting bigger in our eyes, so we can now see half of the moon. This is our first quarter. As the moon continues to go around, we can see more and more light. So this is our waxing gibbous. We can see 3/4 of the surface of the moon. When the moon is directly behind us, we can see the whole surface of the moon. So we can see the whole circular part of the moon, which would be a full moon for us. After the moon is full, then we can't get any fuller with light, so we have to decrease in light. So that means we're going to start our waning phases. So we start waning just a little bit, meaning we're decreasing a little bit of light. So we're going to get our waning gibbous, meaning 3/4 of the surface is full. Then we can see half of the surface of the moon. So we see our third quarter. And then when we look into the moon again, we see only a little sliver of the moon, which is our waning crescent. After the waning crescent, the moon phase goes back to new moon and it begins again. This takes about a month to happen, or 27.3 days. All right, moving on to eclipses. Eclipses do have something to do with moon phases, so we're going to combine those together in class. But right now, you just need to get your information on eclipses. Eclipses are when Earth and the moon cast a shadow on each other. We have two types of eclipses. We have solar eclipse and we have a lunar eclipse. Solar eclipse would be an eclipse of the sun, so blocking out the sun, and a lunar eclipse is an eclipse of the moon, which means that the moon is being blocked out or being in the shadow. When you look at this eclipse, this is showing us a solar eclipse. You can tell that we have the sun, the moon, and then the earth. So basically what happens is the sun, the moon, and the earth align straight, and the moon blocks the light from the sun from getting to earth. If you look at the picture, this is our total eclipse. And this is actually what a total eclipse of the sun looks like. The moon is blocking the sun, so you can see the sunlight actually coming out around where the moon is. This happens when the moon moves between the earth and the sun. So as far as the alignment, what you have to know for your standard, you need to know that the order of these objects would be sun, moon, then earth, aligned in one straight line for a solar eclipse to occur. The next phase is a lunar eclipse. So with a lunar eclipse, if you look at the diagram below, we have the sun, then we have the earth, and then the moon is directly behind the earth, straight line again. This happens when the earth's shadow falls on the moon. So now the moon's passing into the earth's shadow. The order for a lunar eclipse would be sun, earth, moon, all lined up in a straight line. And there's something really cool that happens when a lunar eclipse occurs. The moon actually looks red, and it looks red because the Earth's atmosphere, it normally filters some of the sunlight and allows it to reach the moon's surface. The blue light is removed. The blue light that would normally shine for our sky is removed and scattered to make the blue sky over in the daylight. The remaining light is red and orange though. So this remaining light is bent or refracted so that the small fraction of it reaches the moon, causing the moon to look red. So the Earth's atmosphere and the way the sunlight hits the Earth's atmosphere during a lunar eclipse is what actually causes the moon to look red or orange. All right, for your summary today, these are the things you need to know. You need to know how to demonstrate the phases of the moon by showing the alignment of the Earth, Moon, and Sun. So you have to be able to show how the Earth, Moon, and Sun line up for each phase to occur, which is what we talked about earlier. You also need to be able to explain the alignment of the Earth, Moon, and Sun during a solar and a lunar eclipse.